Hey there, it's Stacy with the Empty Nesteaders, and I am finally back with a video for you. I'm going to show you the garden today, and it is a September garden. Unfortunately, we missed the whole entire beautiful garden phase because I was busy and I had a pinched nerve in my back and I didn't do any videoing. But today I'm going to show you what we did this year, and there is still a little bit to look at. So I'm going to take you on a tour, and Dave is behind the camera today. So he's going to be helping me film, and we'll just talk about everything we did this year. So let's take a look. The first thing we're going to take a look at in this garden is our beautiful dead corn stalks. So these did produce corn this year. We harvested corn probably a month ago now, and our corn did not do so great. I've got about 9 rows of corn here. It got off to a slow start growing until Dave put some nitrogen containing material down, and then we started growing a little bit. So it was kind of slow. And then when we harvested, we found that each of the ears only had about half of the kernels filled in. So I think we needed more nutrients for the corn. We got closer than we ever have. Unfortunately, we did harvest a little late, and so it was kind of chewy. It's kind of chewy, but it's corn and it tastes good. We did peaches and cream corn this year, so we're going to take a look at some other kinds and see what we're going to do next year. Not really sold on that. Maybe it was us, maybe it was the corn, I don't know, but that's our corn. We're ready to cut these down and have some decorations for fall. The next thing I want to show you is our cucumbers. And Dave had the brilliant idea of putting this panel up for the cucumbers to grow up this year. And they were like no problem. They just grew up it by themselves. And we had several cucumbers. You can see the plants are completely dead. There's a couple cucumbers that probably could still be eaten on here. But that's fine. We got plenty of cucumbers for some bread and butter pickles and some dill pickles. Got those canned, and we will definitely be doing this again next year. That was a great idea, Dave. Down here at my feet, we have peppers and cats. So the peppers this year, we really had a problem with. First of all of the peppers over here where I'm standing are cayenne peppers. I did not plant cayenne peppers, and Dave did not plant cayenne peppers. We thought we were planting jalapenos. Not sure if these were the plants we bought or the seeds I started, but whichever they were, they are not what we bought. So we kind of had something we weren't expecting. Also, the peppers all grew very, very slow. In fact, if you look right here, which you probably can't because there's a cat in the way. If you look right here, this is one of the pepper plants that just never did anything. It's not completely dead, but it didn't grow. And then we did have a couple of pepper plants that are the bell peppers, and they did not produce very much, but they've got a few peppers that are still growing. Peppers were kind of a failure this year.
That's always been a very easy thing, the peppers.
Yeah.
And this time it's just, I don't know what happened this year.
Wasn't a good pepper year.
Yep.
Okay, over here we have a jumbled mess of weeds, but in amongst them is some watermelon, or some watermelon vines. I see 3 watermelon right now that we have. Let's check and see. I will tell you what I know about watermelons being ripe. So when you look at a watermelon, you have this tendril that is straight across from the stem of the watermelon. This is the vine, this is vine, but this is a tendril. When it is completely brown all the way up to here, which this one is, that should mean that watermelon's ready. Now, it's a small watermelon, but I believe it might be ready. And in this corner of the garden, we have some cantaloupe. We grew these cantaloupe with seeds from cantaloupes that our neighbors just down the road gave us last year. They were the most delicious cantaloupes last year when they grew them. But this year, for some reason, they're not looking pretty. They're not tasting great. We obviously need something different or more or something with cantaloupe. So if you guys have any suggestions on growing good cantaloupe, please let us know. We failed on that one too.
That's our first time doing them, so I'm not even like, I wasn't sure at all, like as far as the color, when they would get to different stages, if they were done, or I had one last night and it was very green tasting still. So
Yeah.
But this is getting awful late, so.
Well, it's hard to know about the watermelon, but you can kind of learn some tricks, and I
Yeah.
have not learned the tricks about cantaloupe yet, so maybe it's us. So that's all for the smaller garden. Now we're going to go over to the bigger garden, the one that has the raised beds in it, and we've got lots to talk about over there. Okay, welcome to our raised bed garden. We have worked a lot on this. It's still not done, but we've done some more work on it. First, you'll see this trellis that we put up this year, and that is for my climbing roses. I've got one here, one back here, and then one over here and up here. And my hope is that as they grow, they'll fill in all of this space and spread and make beautiful flowers all over the trellis. The other flowers we have here, you all know what these are, I'm sure. These are mums. And so I did get 3 mums for this side and 3 mums for over here to go in between those roses for the fall. I love mums, and the main reason I love mums is because they come in the fall, and I love fall. So we've got some color here, and I'm really excited about having all that color. So starting with this bed right here, you see that it's pretty much empty. This was potatoes. We've already harvested them. They were small. They were a small kind of potato. Life goes on. We got several potatoes. I had several beds full of potatoes, and next year we're going to have to figure out what kind of potatoes grow big, because we want some big potatoes that will store better. And then in the corner, Dave will tell you what that is.
I believe they're leeks. That came from a Hello Fresh order we had one time. They had a couple of them left over, and I don't know if many of you know that just about any kind of an onion or something like that you have that if it has any root whatsoever, you can stick it in the ground and it will grow. And that's what I did. And so anytime I have leftover green onions, anything like that, I just take them and bring them out here and stick them in the ground, let them grow.
And speaking of that, bring your camera over here and look. These were not here the other day. Remember you planted some seeds here?
Yep.
They're coming up.
That's little seeds that these had gone to seed up there. The flowers had. You can't even see them anymore.
Moving back here, we have sweet potatoes. I am not sure what kind of sweet potatoes these are. These were given to me by somebody. They had some extra sweet potato slips, and I planted them, and they just exploded. So here soon, we will be digging those up, and we'll know what we have. This bed was my onions and carrots. I've never succeeded at growing carrots, and we did grow some carrots this year. They're not beautiful, they're not huge, but at least they are carrots. We'll try again next year. I think the soil got really compacted bad, so we need to do something to kind of loosen that up. These were planted between rows of onions. I started onions inside, just plain old yellow onions from seed in the spring. I brought them out here. They were about the size of those that you saw over there, and they grew up into beautiful onions, and I got some onions that are about that big out of that. So if anything, I can grow onions. I also had some onions that I bought from, I bought some onion sets. They were white onions. They only grew to about that big. I'm not sure if they were supposed to or not, but they're cute. That's all I can say about those. And then these 2 beds are empty because they were potatoes also. These were a little bit bigger potatoes that I grew. Couldn't tell you what kind. Like I said, we need to figure out what kind of potatoes we really want next year. but they were a little bit bigger. These were tiny little red fingerling potatoes that we need to eat first because they will not keep. Down here on the ground, all along here, we have sweet potatoes also. These are ones that we bought. Don't remember what kind they are. I'll put it on the screen right here if I can find the kind that I bought. But they're supposed to be some pretty good sized ones, and we'll be digging those up and see how those did pretty soon too. Now back here in this part of the garden, we have 4 rows of tomatoes that we'll talk about in a minute. I want to get what's in between the rows first. So we took advantage of the room in between and we planted beans. Now these are green beans. They are a little late coming in because I planted green beans in the beginning and it was before we even had the fence up. And something came in and just kept eating them as they popped up. So there were no green beans. And then Dave came through and hilled the middle up and got rid of all the weeds because the weeds were growing faster than my beans were. And he planted new ones. And so if these have time to produce before they get killed by frost, then we will have lots of green beans. But it's going to be a race against the clock on those, I think. This row is some of the green beans that grow purple, but then when you cook them, they turn green, which I think is really cool. They're also way behind. There's some I planted in the beginning, and I can't even explain why they're taking so long to produce green beans. They may not. I don't know. They've had a rough start too. They've been buried in weeds. We've unweeded them and replanted some of them, and I don't know. We'll see what happens with those. And then between this row, these 2 rows are my favorite. They're the purple cowpeas. And they grow on a thing, like this is one that's not ripe. So they grow green and then they turn purple and they dry out. And when they dry out, you can crack them open and there's dried beans in them that look like this. And you dry them out completely and you can put them in jars or whatever and keep them. And they taste really good. I really love these beans. We'll put that there, it'll grow, right? So here's our first row of tomatoes. These are not Thompson Contender because I always want to call them that. And that's not a tomato. This is a Celebrity Plus tomato. And they grow nice and round and kind of almost like the picture perfect tomato. And they're a little bit meatier, so they're really good canning tomatoes. So we've really enjoyed having this kind of tomatoes in our garden this year. I think this whole row is Celebrity Plus. We go over here, get through the beans. And this row is mostly Amish paste. Now, Amish paste tomatoes are pointy on the end, and they're very meaty, and they're really good for doing tomato sauce and tomato, like chunk tomatoes, diced tomatoes or whatever. So we grew these last year over in the other garden, and none of them got any bigger than, about like this.
They just look like a Roma.
Yeah, and we were like, well, that's useless. But then we saw pictures, and it's like, that's not what they're supposed to look like. So this year we moved the tomatoes over here away from the walnut tree, and they grew like they were supposed to grow. So if you have a walnut tree in your yard, you cannot grow tomatoes near it. You can't grow a lot of things near it. Corn is one of the few things that you can grow near a walnut tree because of the tannins and stuff that it goes through the roots and comes up through the ground and just ruins things.
Every single part of a walnut tree, the leaves, the twigs, the roots, every single part of it.
The walnuts themselves.
Yeah, the walnuts themselves, yeah. Every single thing that is part of the tree like that, when it gets in the garden, stops growth. Or not stops, but
stunts it a
very
lot.
stunts it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to the next row. This row has some more of the Amish paste that you can see here. And then we have some beefsteak. I don't have any good examples of beefsteak left because it's so close to the end of the season, but there's a pretty good one. Almost was left out here too long.
Yeah.
But got some beefsteak. Beefsteaks are good for tomato sandwiches, for slicing, for hamburgers or whatever, and just having sliced tomatoes. They do have a lot of juice and seeds and everything in the inside, but they taste really, really good. So these are a mix of, there's Roma. I don't know how these got so mixed up. There is a beefsteak. There's more Romas. I'm saying Romas. I mean Amish paste, which are a type of Roma tomato. And then clear down here on the end, this year we planted one cherry tomato plant, and that was enough. Because Dave and I don't really do anything with cherry tomatoes. The only thing we do with them is pick them off the plant and eat them while we're in the garden. You want one? I love them off the plant, but once they go inside, I don't even like them. So this is just our little snacking tomato plant. Yep, our candy plant. We're gonna have to remember next year that one cherry tomato plant is perfect. All right, a couple more things back here. You can't even hardly tell anymore, but there were yellow squash back here. They are long dead. We got some yellow squash and we chunked it up and froze it. And
ate a bunch too.
Oh yeah, we ate a bunch. And zucchini, which this little guy is still trying to hold on. It even has some some flowers on it.
Does it?
It does. So maybe we'll get another zucchini or two this year. But I've also taken several zucchini and shredded them and froze that for zucchini bread. Another thing we like to do with fresh zucchini is put it through a zoodler. If you don't know what a zoodler is, I've not lost my mind. It's like a spiral. It makes it into noodles. Zoodles, get it? Zucchini noodles, zoodles. So
it's like
those are really
sticking the zucchini in a pencil sharpener.
Yeah, yeah, and then like the lead that would come off is like the zucchini that comes off. Goes.
The wood that comes off, yeah.
Yeah, I said lead, didn't I? It's been a while since I've been in school. Okay, one more thing to show you in this garden, and then Dave's got something to show. I planted some flowers. It was a mix of flowers along the fence, and they got taken over by weeds. And then we finally went through, and they're very sparse because there were so many weeds, and we probably pulled some flowers too. But we got some really pretty marigolds down through here, and I just love having the flowers in the garden. Their butterflies are out here, the bees are out here, and they're loving it. And then over on the other side, we had just a couple of zinnia flowers survive and just produce such pretty flowers. Actually, one of these is not a zinnia. One of these is not like the other. He's like pointing to which one. What is this, Dave?
That's not a zinnia.
These are zinnias. I don't know what this is. It's pretty though. It's really neat shaped. So please tell me what this is, people. Like I said, there were lots of different kinds of flowers. We planted a whole bunch, and this is what survived, the weeds. So tell me what that is. Okay, let's see what Dave's got over here.
Is that a duck? That's not a duck. It's a goose.
It's asparagus.
It's asparagus. Anyway, this asparagus we just planted this year. So, of course, naturally, it came up well this year, which is always happy to see it pop up like it's supposed to. But we won't even next year. If you're familiar with asparagus at all, you need to wait definitely not the first year, and preferably not even the second year. And then make sure it gets well established before you start to cut it. So, but I love asparagus, and like ever since I was a kid, we always had asparagus growing up, and so we had it well established at our last house, and then it was time to leave when we moved. So I'm glad to finally get this set up and have its own little spot over here. So we're excited about asparagus next couple of years down the road.
And you were brave because you planted it outside of the fence.
Yes.
Where the goats and critters could get to it.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
So far, yeah.
Okay, the last thing we're going to show you today is our rhubarb. I planted these rhubarb plants when we moved here, which has been 3 years ago now, believe it or not. And they are doing great. This one obviously is a monster compared to this one. But we're done harvesting rhubarb this year. It's much too late in the year to harvest good rhubarb. I'm thinking maybe this needs thinned out a little bit for winter though. I don't think it needs to keep all that going, but it came back beautiful this year. We got lots of rhubarb to put in the freezer for rhubarb pie, and I found a recipe for rhubarb cookies, and they are so good. So that kind of is a rundown of everything that we have produced in our gardens and kind of an idea of what we have harvested and canned or frozen. Well, that's the end of our garden tour.
That's it.
What was your favorite part of the garden this year?
My favorite part was the trellis right here. Right here.
Yeah.
And the tomato. Success of the tomatoes this year. Far greater than what we had over there at the walnuts. I guess one of my big lessons learned this year is going to be, though, is our tomatoes. If y'all go back and looked at where we shot that part, all the plants now are leaning over like that is because they're indeterminate, which means that they'll just keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And when you've got a trellis that's this high, they were like
couple feet above that,
at least that, yeah. If not, they were like 3 foot plus past that, and then once they got past that, they went, whoa, I don't think so. And then
now they're all just kind of
there's no way to tie them off to something or anything like that. And one of the things I might even think about doing is I've seen people do this, but we've got the rows over there, they just arch between the two of them and use the strength of this and let it keep growing up here. Give it something to catch it, and then do the same thing on the other.
You might have to pick the really high tomatoes though.
Yeah.
Also, I wonder if the tomatoes grew real thick over something like this, could we still have beans or whatever in the middle, or would it shade it out too much?
I don't know.
So lots to think about. My favorite part was the tomatoes, but also the flowers. I've never grown flowers before. I've never had that as part of my garden, and I think I'm hooked. I really like having color in my garden. I like colorful things.
I'd like to work more on figuring out how to do some wildflowers successfully.
Because we do have the bees out there, and they'd probably really appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming along with us today. Again, I apologize. It's been so long since I put out a video. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Thank you for still subscribing to the channel. And if you have not done that, if you would, I would greatly appreciate that too. And we'll plan on seeing you hopefully next weekend with a video of some sort. Got any ideas?
That's at the moment.
Okay, we'll come up with something, I promise. All right, thanks so much. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Can I start over? The goats distracted me. What's the word I'm looking for? Is that right?
Cayenne. Yep.
Say that again, because I talked over you. Let me out. Let me out.